If you want to say it's boring, sure.
Yeah. Before even watching the movie, if I would have heard a review like that,
All the
didn't-
handkerchiefs.
Oh, I love it.
So
I was so shocked by the actual resemblance he had with Einstein.
He was exactly like him.
He looks so much like
That's
Einstein.
true.
You are an American Prometheus, a man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. It's perfect.
that was
I tried it out. I kind of sound like Oogway a little bit from Kung Fu Panda, but
Two wise old figures. It's perfect.
yeah.
All right, guys, so welcome back to part 2. If you haven't checked out part 1 yet, we talked a lot about the performances of Cillian Murphy, our favorite scenes, the music, VFX, you name it. We talked a lot about it. If you don't know already, in part 2, we're going to be talking about a couple of questions I have for Will and Alvaro, a little bit of debate I want to bring up, the two perspectives of Oppenheimer and Struass, the messages of the film, and obviously some controversial things and last thoughts that we have about the amazing movie that we spent 54 hours watching collectively.
It's so funny
So-
every time you say it.
I love bringing it up.
Funny,
It's
I find
great.
it depressing every time you said it.
Oh man.
So for the debate-esque thing, so usually we do a quiz in these, but I feel like the quiz for this wouldn't be fair because we know so much
Yeah.
about it that there's really, no point. Although, I'm actually thinking of a question now just for fun.
Oh.
Oppenheimer had a daughter. And she
As soon as you said daughter, I was like, I'm trying to remember the name.
and
Anyways,
so she took on like a whole life of her own, and she was close with her father, unlike Oppenheimer was not very close with Peter, so there was that separation. But it's not really a question, it's more of a did you know. Actually, it's not a question.
Okay, thank
I was
God.
trying to form it into a question, but like I can't think of it because I didn't write anything. But just for fun fact, it goes into Strauss's vindictiveness that we talked about a little bit earlier, but I'll bring it up now and then we won't have to bring it up later. When she went for a job interview for a job that required a security clearance, the pure fact that Oppenheimer had been rejected, and this is after his passing, the fact that he had been rejected, they rejected her as well, just off of the base of
Yeah.
that. This was a job that required to go through the FBI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I read that in the book, and I thought that's just that's crazy. Like
Yeah, it's
talk about ripple
generational.
effects. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane. All right, for controversial stuff. I decided to scroll through some Oppenheimer reviews on Letterbox, which I find is the most fun way to look at reviews, in my opinion.
Throwback to our IMAX ride.
And I was
Oh,
going
yeah.
to say, perfect transition. In our IMAX 70mm story, which you should go watch if you haven't already, we talked about a little bit of the stuff we did while we were traveling over to watch it. And so I, on the way back, decided to scroll through Letterbox and, make a little fun of some of these people who gave it a bad review. And because, we just went to see in 70mm. Of course, I'm going to think positive and love the movie, and I still do. But we were just having fun with it. And I decided to go back to some of these 1-star. Actually, these are all half-a-star reviews.
Uh-oh.
So
Let's hear it.
my goal for this from you guys this isn't to make fun of these people. In fact, some of these people have a decent idea, or their opinion makes sense. I know how much we love this movie, but I want you for this, both of you. This isn't like you answer and then
Yeah,
you guys
not a
collectively
competition.
answer.
Let's hear
Yeah.
it.
I want to see if you can find a way to respond to it without your Oppenheimer love lens for the film. Okay?
Oh boy, it's gonna be
All right.
hard.
And I think you guys are very capable of this.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So the first one here says, I don't have the names, by the way. I cut them all out. So I did
Fair
not
enough.
take down the names. So nobody's getting called out here. But it has 3 likes. So post on November 16th. November 16th. It was still in theaters? Okay, anyways. Firstly, what is it with Hollywood glorifying these biopics? I just can't deal with another extremely tense and made to entertain film in this genre. My phone's being stupid. I think they are insulting to the person and their life efforts and by no means represent their genuine or their importance of their achievements. Secondly, I think Nolan has lost his touch, most likely since Dunkirk. He seems to be riding a horse that gallops towards Mount Olympus of egotistical. End of sentence. I was extremely disappointed, and I hope Hollywood stops trying to make a buck out of these biopics. I will give this half a star just as a sign of my disapproval of what it represents. However, it could easily get to... Wow, this last one doesn't make sense. I don't know what they were writing. But anyways, you got the gist.
Okay.
I will go off the bat and just say obviously we don't agree with it, right? But that's with the Oppenheimer lens. But even without the Oppenheimer lens, before even watching the movie, if I would have heard a review like that, especially on a biopic, off the bat, it's not a good review. Especially for the fact that it's history. You know, there's a reason history class exists, and it's meant to be taught. It's meant to be seen. And if you can get it publicized in a way that more people are going to see it, so like a movie, for example, it's even better, right? I mean, history is there so that we don't repeat it, specifically for something like this. Something like a nuclear bomb, something like creating something so massive, right? A weapon of mass destruction.
So impactful.
Exactly. In terms of a biopic and like Hollywood trying to earn a buck, no. Off the bat, no. My bad. Even like with like Oppenheimer lens, off the bat, no. That's like just, I guess I have a really deep appreciation for history that like for me off the bat, that's just like a terrible like review. I'll be honest.
No, that's good.
Yeah. But I do get outside of that where they're coming from. Outside of that, I get where they're coming from.
I kind of agree with what they're trying to say in the review, though.
Okay.
Because in recent years, biopics have dominated Hollywood. Like just in the last 5 years, every Oscar winner basically has been playing a real person. Like Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody, Taron Egerton was nominated for Rocket Man.
Not Austin Butler for Elvis.
Not Austin Butler for Elvis. So yes, I do see what they're trying to say, that Hollywood is pushing biopic. We are in a very big biopic trend.
Yeah, we have more coming out.
We have way more coming out. Bob Marley in a few months.
Yeah. Maestro.
Like,
yeah.
Are they trying to make a quick buck? I don't necessarily think so, because if they want to make a quick buck, they're going to make Star Wars, Marvel, like, you know, they're going to make more Jurassic World movies. They're going to make stuff like that. But yes, we are in a big biopic trend currently, which is dominating the market and could slow down a bit, because right now it's way too oversaturated. So I agree with that part. But in terms of not representing them and their life's work, that's complete bogus. I agree with you on that part, because it's literally history. Yeah. It's facts. So like, yeah, I'll agree with the first part. Definitely not the second part.
I kind of have to like, not like go back on that, but I feel like in terms of a biopic, because it's a true story, there's so much more, I guess, like evidence and facts you can work with.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
There's so much more things that you can use to make a movie. So if you're trying to make, specifically some of these directors like Christopher Nolan, for example, who absolutely loves like reading history and facts, and like just loves seeing, loves understanding some of these things that have happened in the past. In terms of wanting to like teach more people, this is something that's hugely documented, specifically Oppenheimer's life. Right. I mean, as we can see from the book, it's like, I think it's 140, 160 pages of just straight up footnotes. Yeah. Right. That's towards the end. It's a hugely documented thing. And as a director, you couldn't ask for anything more than just a huge documentation of such a character. Right. And I mean, it's crazy. You're saying also Bohemian Rhapsody, for example, as well. Elton John. I mean, these are people that are hugely documented. There's so much like stuff that you can use to like work with them. And I feel like with the technology we have nowadays, I think it's the perfect time to be doing biopics, because everybody has access to them.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I'm just a I'm a hater on this review. I'm gonna say it.
It's a trend that's probably gonna die out soon. It's just this last little part, and then you can move on to the next one. Because like, there's only so many biopics they can do. Yeah. At one point, they will run out of singers. It's mostly been singers recently.
Yeah, fair.
To do biopics on. So like, sure, if you want to capitalize on it now, go for it. Because in like 10 years, it's gonna be done.
I get it. I get it. But there's also some biopics from like a while back. Right, like A Beautiful Mind, for example.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that's a kind of movie that if you go back way to the episode that we talked about it, somebody said Oscar bait, which at the point of it coming out, 2001, I'm pretty sure.
Something like that, yeah.
That's like...
It's ridiculous.
It's, come on, there's no trend or anything like that, but it's just you're trying to entertain, or not entertain, but you're trying to teach people of what can happen, right? Or what has happened, which is... Like I said, I'm just saying it again, I'm a hater for the review. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
I'm really glad you brought up A Beautiful Mind, because fun fact, I believe his name's John Nash.
Yeah, John Nash.
Oppenheimer and John Nash knew each other.
Oh, wow.
Because it's the same.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Like time period, yeah.
It's the same school.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
That's a cool little fun fact. Yeah.
Oppenheimer was the... what was it? Struass that gave it to the director of
the Institute for Advanced Studies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the time, Oppenheimer was aware of what John Nash was actually going through. At the time, he actually wrote to him. He said something along the lines of like, once you, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was more or less, once you get your head straight, you gotta come back, please, and I'll see you then, pal, or something.
That's
I
cool.
don't know.
That's
I'm
really
very
cool.
paraphrasing.
Yeah.
He might not have said pal. Maybe they weren't that close. But I remember when I saw that, I was like, highlight, mention it, and I like almost forgot. I'm really glad you brought that up. You should have seen my face. If you watch the recording, my face goes, oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I'm really glad that brought up the whole debate. I'm really surprised. All right, here's the next one. It was posted on November 13th, so 3 days prior. Are these all in November? Yeah, they are. I didn't dig that far back. This one says, I finished this purely out of stubbornness and because the biggest movie of the year and whatever. I'd say it's an eat your vegetables movie, but there's no vegetables, no meat either. This is a plain rice movie all the way. Didn't learn anything new, and the characterization is so thin that if I had the choice, it'd be a podcast, not a full-fledged film. What about this actually gives any sort of deeper understanding is about the threat of let me restart this. Man, should have given me the task to read. What about this actually gives a deeper understanding of the threat of nuclear obliteration, essentially. At least it portrays the U.S. government as a genocidal backstabbers. Wish it may be connected these dots more. Ultimately, this movie begins sin. Ultimately, this movie begins. Sin is simply being boring as hell. Also, Chris Nolan, interact with some women in your life. I'm begging you.
Okay. That last part is good. That last part's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to say it's boring, sure.
Yeah.
It's obviously not for everyone. Not everyone's going to like every movie. To say that it's plain rice, that's absurd.
Yeah.
It's literally 3 hours because it has so much meat. But wow. Sorry, I'm still processing everything. Yeah, no. That one I'll fully disagree with, unlike the last one.
I'm a little bit of the opposite because this one I'm a bit agreeing. Because
really,
if you're coming in and you have no prior knowledge to like I said before, if you have zero knowledge of who Oppenheimer was, any World War history, or even like the Japanese or anything like that, even the atomic bomb, if you're coming in completely blind, this movie's gonna seem boring to you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like if you're coming in completely blind, you're gonna have no idea what's happening, no idea who the characters are, and like no idea the actual like impact it's had on society and like how big it is. So I kind of get that if this person had zero historical knowledge at all, zero, like does not know anything at all. But if they had just a slight bit, I'm with you. I like terrible review, but just the fact that if they had just a tiny bit of knowledge, sorry, if they didn't have even just a tiny bit of knowledge, I get it. That's just me.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think there's no characterization?
True.
Yeah. Well, we're agreeing to disagree. Like,
yes.
But did they say that they didn't learn anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they didn't learn anything new, is what they said.
Okay, so maybe they did already know.
So they know everything.
Okay, yeah.
They are an all-knowing being who knows World War II inside out, clearly.
Oh, boy.
And watched it because it's the biggest movie of the year, I guess.
I mean, who hasn't done that, right? At least.
I mean, yeah, like I watched Power of the Dog just because it was going to win everything. I didn't really want to watch it, but
it won like one thing, didn't it?
but like leading up to it, everyone was like, "Oh, this is going to sweep."
No.
And I was like,
No.
"Sure, let me see what this is about."
That was no, okay.
But
they were wrong.
Yeah, they could not have been more
Those
wrong.
people we can make fun of.
Oh boy.
All right, this next one here comes in with a hot score of also half a star. This person said this movie sucked ass. So fucking boring. It's literally 3 hours of politics. Let me just interject real quick. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
I like Will said the other day with our last podcast. If you go see a Mel Gibson movie and you don't like realize that there's going to be religion involved in it, then what are you expecting? Don't go see Oppenheimer and not expect politics in it. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I took that one over.
Yeah,
Let's go for it. Go for it.
And then here, this one's for you guys. This person said, in continuation, the only good part is the blast, and even that they ruined by making it mostly silent. And then they ended it with also Florence Pughs hell is hot.
Okay.
You ruined it by making it silent.
It's
Oh man.
okay. Outside opulence. Outside
Right.
opulence.
Right. Take it off.
Take it off. Okay. Okay. Politics. Alex touched on that already. It's a movie about it's history. They're gonna talk on politics. So
it's a historical political drama.
Yes.
Literally what it is.
Exactly. So completely gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
In terms of the silence in the movie. Okay. Oppie glasses off. I get it because you want to hear the boom and everything, but then you also have to remember the boom comes after. And
They're
then,
kilometers away.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Sound takes time.
Exactly. You see light before, like you see lightning before you hear the thunder. You know, it's the same thing. Yeah. This is just real life put in movie. It's that's the only comment I guess.
If anything, the silence shows just how much research they did.
Yes.
Because it is accurate to how long it took before they actually heard it.
Yeah.
It's not like boom straight away.
And
you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
And then it's going.
They're probably very used to, the Marvel movies where like as soon as an explosion happens, like a city away, you hear it like instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe they live somewhere where there's no thunderstorms.
Maybe.
And they've never seen lightning.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Like.
And in terms of the last comment, I agree.
Yes.
All right. This person says the fact that this film is concerned itself about the American part of the story, completely ignoring the tragic loss of thousands of innocent lives in Japan, is despicable. And that poor wife of his, she is afraid of losing their house when her husband created bombs and destroyed 2 cities. It is sad that some would watch this film and actually be okay with the way it was presented.
Okay, that's nitpicking.
Mm-hmm.
The kitty part?
The kitty part,
Yes.
yes. That's extremely nitpicky.
If that's what you got from her character after 3 hours, you clearly didn't watch the same movie we did.
Yeah. Oppie glasses off.
Oppie glasses off,
Oppie
of course.
Glasses off.
Of course. But
I get it.
I get it.
I would have loved to see like the Japanese side.
Yeah.
The Japanese side is definitely because out of this movie you feel so many different emotions, but the Japanese side is where I think all of the emotions would really strike.
Yeah.
And hit you in so many levels because it's something that happened in real life. Like thousands and thousands of lives were lost that day. Days, excuse me, with the 2 bombs. Yeah. I find the way that they didn't show it is because this is a biopic, first of all. Again, Oppie Glasses Off. It's a movie about Oppenheimer, hence the name of the movie, Oppenheimer. It's not about the atomic bomb and its aftermath and effects and stuff like that. So it's like the story of the man creating it.
Yeah.
Oppie Glasses Off, that's my take. You know, like I get why there's no Japanese people in it, or the Japanese like not the consequence, but the aftermath of the bomb. You know, in terms of Japanese people. If you do actually want to see a movie about aftermath of the bomb and everything like that, I'm gonna bring it up. I mentioned it to you guys. Godzilla -1 is really good. Godzilla -1. It's an incredible film where you actually kind of see the other side of the like post World War II. After a bunch of bombings and stuff like that, not necessarily the atomic bomb, but after World War II, you kind of see a lot of people going through what is as we call like rebuilding from all the losses, a bunch of different things that have happened after the war, especially the Japanese people, and then obviously Godzilla, and it's crazy, but so on and so forth.
I mean, Godzilla kind of represents the nuclear bomb in a way, right?
Exactly.
He does harness nuclear power, and
so whenever there's he came back because the nuclear bomb happened, right? If you're really into your Godzilla knowledge, but you can have said better. Oppie Glasses Off. Yeah, it would have been cool to see the Japanese aftermath and the effect on the Japanese people, but that's not what the movie is, unfortunately. Yeah. That'd be tackling a whole other project. Yeah. That could be made into another full-fledged, maybe not 3-hour movie, but it's a completely different project. I feel like if they actually would have portrayed maybe like anything happening with the Japanese people, in terms of even like the bombing or anything like that, or even just like the city just being bombed, I think it should have earned an NC-17 rating. Because once you're at that kind of level, it's a very kind of really harsh and deep thing that happened, right?
It's real.
It's real. It is terrifying.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, something about this movie that people don't really think about. It's a terrifying film. Everything about it is amazing, but it's a terrifying, I guess, like, I mean, an atomic bomb that can kill thousands of people. And the way of it being just created is terrifying.
Yeah.
And if you see the aftermath of the actual like bombing taking place, I think it deserves an NC-17 rating. I don't know about you guys. I mean, maybe unless they showed graphic stuff, maybe then like NC-17. But I find as soon as they would just portray the bombing in Japan, NC-17, as soon as right there.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know what you guys think, because I mean, I know NC-17 is like usually whenever there's like super extreme like nudity or there's extreme like torture or anything like that, that's when it kind of like jumps the line.
I mean, that's an interesting part, because here it was 13 plus.
Yes, in Canada, yes.
But in the States, it's rated R.
Yes, R-rated, yes.
So would that have been enough to change it like here to like match the American rating, R rating?
Like for us, like a 16 plus.
I was about to say, that's what it would be for us. We wouldn't even make it.
It would have been interesting.
Our laws are very different. We were just saying something. I had it in my mind.
The Japanese part, NC-17.
About demonstrating it throughout the film. That's it. And if they had actually shown that changing the rating, well, they kind of do, show it, demonstrate it right after the very not as intense, right? Because they obviously they probably thought of the same thing. Like if we show it, we're gonna have to change the rating. Obviously that comes into mind, but they demonstrate it right through when he does his speech there, right?
Yeah.
And so you get terrifying. Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. You get the people crying. He steps out of a burned corpse, which I believe is actually Christopher Nolan's daughter.
Yeah. I heard about
that. That's it's in the IMDb.
Interesting.
And then there's people puking outside and stuff like that. So like you see that scene, you're like, okay, yeah, that's that connection there. I mean, to me, that's what it signifies.
Yeah.
It could be people puking over the sake of like,
their actions,
what they did. But honestly, I don't see that, because I don't think in that moment those people cared, but not yet at least. So they were really, functioning on just like finish the gadget,
Yeah.
get it done, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
So,
In that scene, there's at one point like everyone's clapping, then he goes like silent, and there's a scream.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
scream gets me every time. I've seen it 8 times. I've gotten chills every single time.
I'll
for
be
that.
honest. When I watched it at home, the scream didn't get me this time, but the late boom from the explosion still got me, and I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm ready, and then it goes, and I just still like flinch and freak out.
Nah,
It's great.
great.
I actually was because I know there was a lot of debate, or I guess rumors that this was actually banned in Tokyo or Japan.
Yeah,
Did you guys hear about that?
I remember
know if
hearing
it
about
was-
that, but I didn't research or.
I'm trying to find now. Apparently, it was never banned, but they still don't even have a
Yeah.
theater release date.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not officially banned, but they're
There's no release date, I guess, for it yet.
interesting. I don't know what.
Because I mean, that kind of movie, it's
Yeah.
a tough movie
Oh,
for
boy, yeah.
Difficult one. Yeah.
yes, specifically to see it on that side.
It's a different
Man.
perspective.
Yeah.
Chances are you're gonna have survivors
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
are
for
gonna go
sure.
watch it, and
Yeah. Or even
Man.
if not survivors, then like the kids.
yeah,
You know.
like
I think-
yikes.
I think honestly, anybody who lives there and would have wanted to see it probably found a way to see it already.
You can watch
Yeah.
it online.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
and now,
Yeah.
now you can just rent it. So
Mhm.
I think at this point, it's not gonna ever release there because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no point anymore,
Yeah,
especially with it out. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I
that'd be interesting.
one last one.
Yeah.
Because
These
I
are-
think
these are interesting. These
Yeah.
are,
these are I honestly the only like these were good. I didn't know you guys were gonna go this far with it, to be honest. I just thought you'd be like, yeah, that's an interesting, cool. All right, next.
They're stupid.
Well, yeah, only a few of them have you actually said all of them. All right, this person, I think you guys are not gonna have. You're not gonna call them stupid. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let's hear it.
This
I'm
one
interested.
is actually from someone we know. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
It's from
weird how-
Connor. No.
Yeah, it's weird how a name came into my head there when you said that. I don't know.
I know his name.
No. This one says, someone tell Christopher Nolan that you are allowed to have a movie in chronological order. Why did we get from splitting the timeline up like this on a biopic about one dude?
Yeah.
I like it.
Oppie glasses off. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's not much debate here.
Why did he have to make it so complicated?
No reason.
No reason.
No reason whatsoever. It's like he made Tenet and then he said, next movie I'm gonna make. I guess like he just didn't learn that people don't understand when there's that kind of flow.
Yeah.
Specifically when you have zero historical knowledge. Coming into this movie, jumping back and forth, specifically with the black and white and the colors, you're
Two
lost.
perspectives, different time jumps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Very
lost.
confusing.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Good. I didn't think that one was
Oppie
going to be a
glasses
hot
off.
debate.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
Like, that's Nolan. That's not...
Yeah.
What did you do?
I don't know. I zoomed in
I
on my
was just
screen.
looking at his laptop. He just zoomed in. Like
How did I do
crazy.
that? Help. Okay. Anyways, well, perfect time to jump into the two different perspectives.
Mhm. Oh yes. All right.
So, what I see in the two perspectives, Oppenheimer, I mean, obviously, other than legitimate like techniques that were used to differentiate both perspectives, I wanted to see what you guys. We touched on a little bit in part one about. Alvaro mentioned the vindictiveness of Struass. I have some stuff to say about that. But you don't have to talk about particularly one if you have anything to say about Oppenheimer or Struass. It's about them, about their perspectives. You have anything to say about them?
I just found it interesting how, for Struass, let's say, after having seen the movie many times, he's so concerned about Oppenheimer being brought up in his hearing, literally from the very start. He's never like stopped thinking about him. I don't know. I forget how many years after like the whole
It's
ordeal this takes place.
1959. The trial that his cabinet hearing, his confirmation,
Yeah.
is 1959, which is
So a good decade.
it's a good decade
Yeah.
after he had basically dragged Oppenheimer through the mud. Interestingly, when the trials, the closed hearing that they had set up for Oppenheimer, the whole point to keep him out of the light, and that's how he controls whatever Struass believed. The news was coming out because you bring that many witnesses in, and then like things get, there's no how do you say it? What did Groves always tell everybody? The number one rule at Los Alamos is
compartmentalize.
Yeah.
I can't say it.
I can't either, so I'm not even gonna try that.
Compartmentalization.
Yeah.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
I don't know how they managed to say that.
Yeah.
Well, then Lawrence just comes in like, I said I understood you, not that I was gonna listen. Sorry, I got distracted by the tongue twister. Yes, Struass, he knew it was getting out to the public, the closed hearing, and that he was afraid that, like the tide would change and then somehow things would, all this work would go on, because it's a confirmation, but it's not the board's final decision. It's their recommendation, and then it's sent off to a higher, exactly.
And then they confirm.
Because it's not a hearing; they're not judges. They say that very clearly.
That's right. Yeah. They're just getting the information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Struass did was he released the transcripts on his own. He was like, "Fine, here," and he thought that would just
be enough.
Yeah. No, that was not it. No. It was a big backlash. In fact, they got really close. The guy, I don't remember who it was, but he got really close to just giving. Just saying, we're not taking the recommendation. Oppenheimer, you're fine. You have your clearance, and calling it a day. It was very, very close. There's one more instance of that when at the end when we have the medal for Oppenheimer, and we'll definitely talk about that amazing sequence when we talk about it in a minute. But Eisenhower was really close to giving as like sort of retribution for everything that happened and all the trials that he went through and all that and the way he was treated. He was going to give him his clearance back. And Oppenheimer said, no, like I'm done. Like it had already been a couple of years. He said, no, I'm good. Like,
and he's much older in those scenes, right? So it's like,
he'd already moved away to like a island somewhere.
Yeah,
I can't remember where it is, but I just thought that was really cool. Something that the movie doesn't touch on. Maybe it's just because there's not enough time to touch on everything, right? So that's what I said in part one. Everybody, if you haven't read the book, if you're a fan of this movie, read the book. It's a long one, but it's a good one.
Oh yeah.
So sorry. Anything else about Oppenheimer and Struass?
I just found it interesting. Like literally, he's never given up on his hatred for Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer himself, even though loved the character, loved Cillian's performance, he really is a dick. Throughout the movie, like Groves tells him, like, you're egotistical, womanizer, like all those.
That's right, yeah.
He's 1000% correct.
Yeah.
Like from the very beginning, you can see Oppenheimer just flexing on everyone. Like at the Communist Party, like, I read Das Kapital in the original German, don't worry. I don't know. I found that really cool, actually. It's like, even though you're meant to like him, right? He is the protagonist. He is the main character. They do still show the bad sides of him, which I found really cool.
I found, in terms of the perspective of Oppenheimer and Struass, first of all, if you knew going into the movie, like I did, that color was Oppenheimer's perspective and then black and white was Struass' perspective, that's huge. It's like, it's a different way to perceive the movie, right? Not just that, but the black and white, insane. Black and white IMAX, first time it's done, crazy. Of course, it was Nolan. But I found Strauss's perspective, specifically his, is very focused on, like you said, Oppenheimer and the bomb. That's it. Yeah. It's like outside of Strauss's perspective, outside of the bomb and Oppenheimer, or I mean, even when you do mention the bomb, it's linked to Oppenheimer. Yeah. It's like, oh, where was the clearance? Like, oh, now the Russians have access to like, they're maybe creating an A-bomb. What happened to the clearance? Like, what did you do, Oppenheimer? It's like, you were in charge. You were the director of the Trinity test. How come this is now what Russia has? Stuff like that. It's like all of a sudden, every single time that Struass is brought up, his perspective, the black and white, it has something to do with Oppenheimer. Which, I mean, again, that's the whole movie. That's the whole point. But it's very, very... It's a way to see the movie about how obsessed he was, which I enjoyed on seeing like Strauss's side, because if you just see Oppenheimer's side, it's very biased, right? But seeing both sides, Struass and Oppenheimer, you kind of get a better feel and a better understanding of what actually happened, right? I mean, you're not reading the book in the movie, right? You're watching the movie, so you don't have actual facts in front of you. You can basically just go based off what you're seeing, and the fact that they put in Struss's perspective, great choice, amazing choice. If they don't put in his perspective, you're kind of like a bit lost, and you just are like, okay, so this is what Oppenheimer went through, but kind of like, why did Struss do that? You don't understand unless you see that perspective.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate his perspective, his view, and like Nolan putting that in there on top of Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, which nails it. Yeah. I think Struss's perspective was definitely something that had to have been in the movie, and it was definitely a good input. That's what I think I'll say, because Oppenheimer's perspective is pretty much the movie. That's just the movie, and then Struss, I think, is like the add-ons. You know, it's like the additional. I guess what you could say is Struss's perspective is the extra deleted scenes that you could put in the movie. In my perspective,
didn't have to be there.
Yeah,
but takes it to another level. Supports the main story so much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, you're both right. I think what you said, did it have to be there? It does in a lot of ways. Without Struss, there's nothing happens to Oppenheimer, because without him, it's just unbelievable how one man could have so much hatred towards one human being.
Yeah,
because at the core of it, Struss was a huge advocate for. This is going to lead us into a bit of. Let me leave it actually for now. I'll leave it for now. You're all right.
Okay, let's stick with that.
Trust me, I'm gonna go on quite a ramble in a moment. So.
I can see it cooking.
I know, me too. I was like, oh, what's going on?
That's
funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna just like rapid fire so many little things very quickly, and facts, messages. We talked about, just like different perspectives. We talked about the review that talked about the perspective from the Japanese side. We talked earlier in part 1 very briefly about just sort of like how he plays the martyr a lot, and sort of like just this, he's not egotistical in a sense all the time, but he just seems to, like, rather than fight, he just rather allow himself to be beat up and assume that it will just be solved. Now that could just be the rich kid mentality that's still in him, because he was born, rich. His father was, what was his father? He sold something. I can't remember what he sold right now, but
big salesman.
Yeah. What?
No, like he was a big salesman. Like he made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, he was
Sorry.
a successful.
I thought you said something salesman. I was like, what?
No, like he was very successful.
Yes, he was an extremely successful. They had like Van Goghs and stuff like that. Like they were, they were extremely rich for the time. And he'd live in like New York and stuff like that, or that's where they lived originally. But the themes of the movies are I feel like you can get a couple of them out of them. I don't know what you guys think some of them are. I think we agree. I guess. Actually, what do you guys think?
I kind of want to start off by saying, I guess, that it's a history, right? I'm huge on history, like I said before. These kind of movies where something this impactful kind of happens, it's so that the past doesn't repeat itself, right? You get to see the different perspectives of both sides. Of Struss, Oppenheimer, even the military. You get to see kind of a bit of their perspective as well, and the scientists and everybody around them, kind of like also seeing basically people on the other side who are just trying to help out and maybe help out with the bomb or don't want the bomb to be created. You get to see all different kind of perspectives on that side, only on just the American side, but you kind of see what could have stopped them, why they should have stopped, so on and so forth. But I think the biggest message of this movie is, don't let the past repeat itself. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is a huge part of this movie. It's I think the message that Nolan wants to push through, right? This is such an important person in history. Everybody should know about it so that there is no second Oppenheimer. Obviously, in terms of innovations and creations, create as much as you want, like do as many innovations as you want. But to a certain extent. You know, I guess that's kind of like what I think is the message of the movie. But
I'm showing Alvaro a perfect quote that he can say.
I will say it. You are an American Prometheus, a man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And if you know the story of Prometheus, then you know just how true that is, right? The man who gave fire to the people. So just a crazy theme to really think about, and always, like, with any one of these kind of movies where there's a lot of, I guess, deep message, just keep an open mind, right? Not just watch this movie and say, oh, this movie's about a bomb, let me go create a bomb in my backyard, you know? Like, obviously, no. That's not the point of the movie. It's not to go, you know, create
bombs are cool. No.
Don't do that. Let me repeat it one more time. Do not do that.
So it's like, don't let the past repeat itself. I'm just going to stick with that. Yeah.
The one I would have gone for is just like Obsession on both Oppenheimer's. Without, like, I'm not going to go into it because we've gone into it so much already.
Yeah.
Both Oppenheimer's obsession with his project and finishing it, and then the instant regret that came with it, and also Struss's obsession with Oppenheimer. Yeah. I think that's like the main theme for me that came out of it, other than history, because obviously can't repeat itself.
Yeah.
That's the main thing for me.
I think you're spot on, honestly, because, like, obsession is such a huge thing that you don't think about. It's like a movie like Whiplash, like we did, or a movie that comes to my head is like Black Swan. You know, it's like these obsessive characters are stuff that, like, sticks to you. Yeah,
perfecting your craft to the point where it's literally has a negative impact on you.
Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Alex?
Oh no, you guys said it.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I have nothing else to add to that. No, you guys nailed it. I'm gonna go into my favorite part of this entire thing. We're gonna talk. It's final thoughts, but it's controversy. It's a talk of things. It's unstructured conversation. We've been quite structured today, going through all the things that we want to talk about. I just wanted to bring up one thing that I only didn't realize until after reading the book, that I wasn't necessarily fond of in the movie, especially considering the sort of way that Robert Oppenheimer was shown on screen. And it shows him as this really lonely character at some point, especially towards the end, where he's with, what like I said in part one, I called this ending portion of 45 minutes or so, maybe it's even close to an hour, the moral scruples part of the story. And what I didn't catch when I watched it the first several times, because I hadn't known enough background, was really the switch of the people he knew at Los Alamos, and then as soon as he had left and the gadget was done, the gadget was finished, the switch in everybody's mentality towards him. Yeah. Because Struass calls it in the cult of Oppie. Yeah. Right. And so once everybody had left Los Alamos, and Oppenheimer said to Truman that he wanted to give it back to the Indians, and Truman calls him a crybaby, which is one of Alvaro's favorite scenes. Yeah. Which it's a phenomenal scene. Yeah. But fun fact, it doesn't ruin the scene at all. Yeah, it's just that particular dialogue that Nolan decided to put in it. It's actually one of the variations that Truman tells stories of. There are multiple ways like that meeting happened, but the "don't let that crybaby back in here" may not have actually been said. And also the handkerchief thing. Handkerchief.
I love it.
So it's just really interesting because it's it's perfectly done for the movie. Yeah. I just want to really touch on that scene really quickly, because the behind the scenes of the Oppenheimer film jumps into just like the crazy rush that they had to set up that particular scene, because they basically said, oh, Gary Oldman's coming, and we have to set up an entire like office, a U.S. office, U.S. presidential office. We gotta go. So they literally pulled it out from like a set from another movie, had to repaint it and like get it done in like a day or some crazy crap like that.
Yeah. I think it was like a whole day and a half or 2 days, because he was there the next day or something, and like the teams were there on 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
day and night shifts the whole day.
Ridiculous.
So yeah, they put it together for him, and then Gary Oldman just did his job so perfectly. Such a talented actor, Oscar worthy. But yeah, to get back to my point, yeah, the switch in characters and friendships is what it is. So once everybody had left Los Alamos, and especially when Teller, we see it in the movie, Teller asks Oppie if he could advocate for the hydrogen bomb, and he goes, "I'm not gonna do that. I won't, or I can't, nor will I," or something that's along the lines he says.
Yeah.
And that was his true sentiment, obviously. He was a big... Oppenheimer didn't seem necessarily against atomic weapons, but he didn't want the U.S. to be stockpiling them like they inevitably did, and especially the hydrogen bomb. Because as we also see at the end of the movie, when Roger Robb really pushes him into you had scruples then, why don't you have scruples now? Like and then that intense. I love that scene, right? You get all the lights and it really gets really intense. And he basically says what does he say? Something along if they didn't, we would have had to, or something along the lines of that. But in the midst of all that dialogue, Oppenheimer kind of says Roger Robb asks him why did you pick these targets, these places? And he's like, well, it didn't make sense because they weren't as big of enough targets, stuff like that. Yeah. And so he's not completely against using these weapons, but he seemed to be extremely against just having a plethora of them. And I guess he was always afraid that essentially what happened later on with the Cold War was. Yeah. So all of that goes down, and he's is he still alive? I don't think he was still alive. I think he died just when that. Does anybody know?
I'm not sure what year he...
I'm pretty sure he died.
I think he died
right as the Cold War was in the brink of they were... Yeah, so what do you have there? 1967?
67, yeah.
Yeah, so 1967 in February, I'm pretty sure around that time period, they were pretty much saying we have bombs, huge amounts, and we're going to deploy them. That's pretty much when he died. Cool. That is
so all his creation.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I think honestly, in terms of your creation and the amount of destruction it can do, and the amount of impact it had on you and everybody else, that is a terrible way to die. Imagining that your creation that has killed already thousands will kill probably millions and end the world, and that's just the way he died. I find it actually
heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Yeah. It's terrifying to think. He's already terrified of his one creation that he did.
Regrets it so much.
Exactly. Then to the point where later down in life, you see two huge powerhouses have huge amounts of your creation, and the whole world is pretty much over, right? Yeah. And I guess it's the very very last part when he's talking to Einstein. And it's I believe we did, right? It's they already started a whole I believe, I forget what he says.
The
whole thing. Is that the whole thing?
That's it's either I accidentally wrote it wrong while watching, or it's as close as it can be.
That's the Einstein part that you have.
That's the Einstein ending part.
Yeah, I'm talking about literally right after that.
Oh yeah,
when Oppie's when I came back to you with those calculations, we thought would end all wars, or the whole world. And Einstein,
I believe we did.
Yeah, I believe we did.
That. It's pretty much how he died. Just thinking that on that same quote, it's a great. That ending was crazy because crazy.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't even know how we got there. What were we talking about? Sorry.
No, we were just. I had originally started my whole tangent about talking about my one criticism of the movie.
Right. Okay.
And I'll finish up really quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
Because it's actually very fascinating. So I was talking about Teller. That's why, and I was talking about how he wanted to. Yes. So we want Teller was pretty much annoyed with Oppie. We could already see it in the film. And then he was really annoyed with him after he basically made fun of him and the hydrogen bomb. Mm-hmm. And so after all that. He asked him one more time, can you help me? Because at that point, Oppie was really big with government and he was like in with Washington, so he was able to like basically he was influencing a lot of things.
Teller tells him, "You're not a scientist. You're a politician.
Yes,
you left science years ago."
Mm-hmm.
His words.
Exactly, and so he ends up being annoyed with them, and in the same time, Lawrence flips as well. He advocates for the hydrogen bomb as well, and you don't see that necessarily in the film. Interestingly, Lawrence actually didn't show up to the hearing, the closed hearing, but he like in the film he shows up and he passes by, but he doesn't actually say anything, and so he just like, I don't know, it's really weird.
He instantly just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this, and walks away.
Yeah, he walks and in, then I think they said like Roger Robb said something like he came down with like colitis or something like that. Now, interestingly, he did come down with colitis, but this is how screwed the hearing was. They still took Lawrence's statement about Oppenheimer, which obviously wasn't positive, and used it in the record to, even though
it wasn't told like
which is against all sorts of rules. Yeah. So it's really, really interesting. And my final note about that is Isidore Robbie, who is plays a phenomenal role in this film. I feel like he just wasn't perceived super well in this movie, showing how he really was like Oppenheimer's like real one true friend. Like he like till the end. Like when like it shows it in the debate, the hearing part, he defends him obviously. But like outside of that, like he went on record or he would talk to media, everything. He was advocating for the views that Oppenheimer had about, like having proper control over all these gadgets and everything like that. So I feel like the movie just kind of went, he's a good friend. That's it. But like really when he was down and out with nobody defending him other than like his lawyer and Kitty, he was there.
I get it, but I have to also say like, no. I think they did show him being the closest friend he has. Because, I mean, the first part that you see him coming in, pretty much feeding Oppenheimer.
Exactly what
it's like feeding him, telling him, hey, you got to eat up, keep up your energy. And then once Oppenheimer is pretty much, like, he becomes a military person, right? He turns on the suit and everything.
Yeah.
It's Robbie that pretty much comes up to him and tells him, that's not you. Like, come on. Yeah, take it off. That's not you. Like,
that's right.
That's military people. You're a scientist, be yourself. And he's the one true person that actually tells him like to be himself. And then towards the end, you can see even when he's like during the closed hearing, he's pretty much freaked out. He's like, oh my God, this is what's happening. And then he comes up again and gives him some more food. And he's like, calm down, relax. He's there at the beginning, there at the middle, there at the end. I think they did a pretty good representation of showing that he's his closest friend.
They obviously can't show him. They weren't able to show all the backing that he did. Again, it's already a 3-hour movie. They can't go into everything, like you said.
IMAX should have made a longer reel.
But I think they, like you said, they show him feeding him and actually telling him the truth.
Yeah,
he's like the only one there.
Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point.
In terms of, like, because you're saying that was like something that you think could have been done better, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things.
Something that I think I would have, I don't know about done better, but I would have loved to see a bit more of in the movie is the same thing that you mentioned with Robbie. Is I would have loved to see Oppenheimer and the other scientists kind of like either in talking more or kind of like brainstorming. All you see is kind of like Oppie in the center, either like a room, and then pretty much just being like, here's an idea, what do you guys think? And everybody kind of like says some stuff, and then Teller shouts out, we should make a hydrogen bomb, and then kind of thing. And it's like you don't really see or hear too much about the other scientists and their perspectives on it,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I kind of understand because Oppie was the director of everything, right? He was the one that was running the show there. But I would have loved to see him have like maybe a couple like one-on-ones with a bunch of the other scientists. And he even says like, oh yeah, tell her like, listen, stay with me and we'll have one-on-ones. If they would have showed just even a little bit of that one-on-one, maybe even that just like tiny glimpse, like maybe like a 3-second thing, just them talking together in rooms separate. I think that would have helped. I would have loved to see Oppie with more scientists. That's just the only thing I would push for this movie. But outside of that, I loved it. Yeah, that's just my take.
I mean, I have some like small things here, but I'd be really nitpicking like the things I wrote down.
Yeah,
really.
Mine was
all
nitpicky.
Right.
Let's hear it.
All right. Okay, well, the first one I would say is not nitpicking, is I find the final act slows down a bit too much. Like at the start of it.
Yeah.
They go from like a big climax, big explosion, the intense, like his speech, then the Truman scene, like two really good scenes. And then it just like dies down, goes full politics, which I think was a bit of a weird transition. Then after that, the other things I have are, so Hans Bethe, the guy who checks Teller's math after he tells him like they're going to destroy the world.
Yeah.
His math is stored in a locked cabinet in a locked room.
Yeah, that.
It seems like Oppie is the only one with the key. So like when Bethe would give him the math, like here's my work, he puts it in a locked cabinet, locks the room, walks out, and comes back the next day. Doesn't really make much sense. But again, nitpicking. And then for as good as Robert Downey Jr. was, this is the thing I hate the most about the movie, is when they're discussing the fact that Russia now has a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
His humph, he has like a huff. He goes, if the Russians have a bomb, the president of the United States needs to know. Why? Yeah. Like I said, nitpicking, but I hate that part.
That's so
can't
funny.
stand it. Other than that,
I
yeah,
love that.
great movie. One of my favorite of the year so far.
That's
so my closing remarks.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah. Absolutely. Like they're nitpicky, but they're little things that, you notice. And as much as you love a movie, there are certain parts of it that that's good. That's what we do. That's what our podcast is about. I mean, I like that we challenged ourselves today to really step away, a little bit from, the love for this movie, because it's really what inspired this entire podcast. And so to be able to criticize it is really good. And I'm glad we got into it, because I'm sure there are people listening who agree on a lot of the stuff that, we may not agree upon, so
of course,
who knows, it's up for debate. That's the whole point. I want to talk about Jean Tatlocks a little bit, and how she's used throughout the film. And I think in the grand scheme, like, she's an important figure. I think she's more important than the movie portrays her to be, unfortunately. I think they kind of just glanced over it. And we talked about it a bit earlier. Someone brought it up in one of the Letterbox reviews, saying that Nolan should just speak to women more, or something along those lines. I can't remember it exactly. But my question is, we talked about it in Interstellar, and it's still here. Women for Nolan and characters are still, I think, one of his struggles.
Yes.
And Alvaro had mentioned that were we recording? I can't remember.
I don't know what
but
I mentioned.
you said that Nolan and the way he portrays Kitty in this is well done, and I 100% agree. And my rebuttal to that was, but he didn't write any of these female characters. True. They're already written for him.
Yeah.
But I will give him credit. The way he represented Kitty in this is much better than I've seen in other films. But Jean Tatlocks got left out, and she's just as smart as Kitty is. She was a psychology major, and she worked in a hospital for a while. And so she, like, they barely touch on it. When they first meet at the Communist Party, he meets Chevalier and he meets Tatlocks. In that sequence where they sneak away, again, can't say it, YouTube will ban me, but when they sneak away and he says, "I become death," she goes to the bookcase and she, like, slightly just, like, starts reading some of the stuff, and, like, she starts questioning him about, like, his, like, past, and, like, like, he's like, "Oh, I was troubled, I tried to kill my tutor," or whatever, and stuff like that. And they briefly mention that she, like, understands that, and she's, like, aware of it because she studied it, but, like, really just passing. So I don't know, like, will he ever figure it out? Will Nolan ever?
I mean, it's a step in the right direction with Kitty.
Yes.
So hopefully in his next project we'll keep seeing improvements. But you make a great point. Tatlocks was very underdeveloped.
and also a great point you make is it was already a written character.
He did not write these characters.
He did not write this character.
They're not already written characters.
They were true.
They're people.
They're people, yeah.
Like, we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. Any other things you guys would like to bring up? Anything that you have any fun things, fun facts, little informations that we didn't get to? This is your time to shine. I don't think we're allowed to mention this Oppenheimer in another podcast for a while. I think we're like limited. What do we mention it like 11, 13, 12 times in a row probably?
12 times
Every
in a row.
episode?
Yeah, I mean, this is episode 13.
This is episode 13, so technically 13 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything you'd like to say?
I want to shout out, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Tom Conti, my boy Albert Einstein. So he is the GOAT.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved seeing him on screen. I was so shocked by the actual like resemblance he had with Einstein.
He looks exactly like him.
He looks so much like Einstein. And like, I mean, even in the short like little behind the scenes when he's talking, you can kind of hear him. And you're like, he's still in character. It's so funny. He's like, I can't picture him as something other than Einstein now, and I find it hilarious. And one of my good friends, Parsa, when we watched this movie for the first time, this guy, he was whenever Albert Einstein would show up on screen, he'd kind of like nudge me on the side and be like, "Yo, look, no way!" It's kind of like a cameo. Like, yo,
it's
Einstein.
literally him.
It's Einstein. It's like a cameo. I was like, oh my god, this is so funny. I did it to Alex when we were watching the actual movie
every time
we watched together. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our boy Tom Conti for his performance.
Would you
as
like
Einstein.
to read his amazing end quote in his voice? Can you give it a go for us?
Oh my god,
I want to
his
see. Hey,
voice.
I did a Batman voice in our Dark Knight
you
episode.
You did.
So
I'm
I want
gonna
to see.
destroy this
is
so
great.
bad.
This
Okay.
I'm gonna
Oh man, the
clip
kind of
this. Here we
pressure
go.
you're putting me in. Okay. Now it's your turn to deal with the consequences of your achievement. They will serve you salmon and potatoes. Give you a medal. Pat you on the back, tell you all is forgiven. Just remember, it won't be for you. It will be for them.
That was.
I tried it out. I kind of sound like Uguay a little bit from Kung Fu Panda, but
Two wise old figures. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Amazing. No, that was a
man.
great. That was great. That was great.
Thank
that
you.
was amazing.
I tried it out. That
I'm
was our
really.
boy.
It's okay. I'll make Will do a Teller quote. Hold on.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Like that. All right. The way we'll end this here is like the way Oppenheimer ended. Let's just talk about this final sequence because it really, when I watched the final scene, you go through the whole sequence of him going to, the White House and he gets a medal and, it's so true to what he says is that like you did so much work and in a lot of ways good work. And what does Einstein say earlier, which is actually a true conversation they had? There's a few Einstein instances that don't actually happen, like the last conversation about the salmon and potatoes. But the other one that didn't happen is when he tells Oppie when he grabs him and they walk with the calculations, and he tells him like, let me find it. Actually, it's such a good.
I mean, you're forgetting the most important part when you see them like, Dr. Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Oh, we all did a voice.
I love it.
Einstein is like the best character in the entire movie.
He honestly is. He's so funny.
Oh man, I remember seeing the trailer and just seeing Einstein. I was like, no way, Einstein's in the movie.
It looks just like him.
I was so shook. I mean, it's a great way to throw him in there, though, too. But they had a huge connection, right? Oppenheimer and Einstein. I think you found it, right?
Yeah. So he says, and if the truth is catastrophic, then you stop and share your findings with the Nazis, so neither of you destroy the world.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, but regardless, sentiments are there. It's a good way to use Einstein because he's a very prominent figure, and obviously, right? It's all their work together has this point, right?
Yeah.
And so to end the movie, like I was saying, my last point, I love that last sequence. It really hits you, like that final shots, all of it, the quote, and then just watching the rockets shoot off, because it's they sort of glance at it during the can you hear the music sequence?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just to call back to it, and like just the way it ends.
I mean, that final montage is a callback to so many moments in the movie.
Yeah.
The rockets being shot in the Can You Hear the Music, the boarding in the fighter jet with the rockets overhead, the world burning up. There's just so many in that final part. Ridiculously well done.
Mm-hmm. And like the way it opened, same way it ends, right?
Yeah.
With Oppie's face. And if you saw in 70 millimeter, incredible detail.
My God.
You see Oppie's face, Cillian Murphy's face, excuse me. And then you see the ripples in the water, or the little puddle. And then at the end, you see Cillian's face with the ripples in the pond. Incredible way to start it. And then the way to end it. You see the changes that he's gone through throughout the whole movie, right? I mean, his whole life. And then at the end, that's his fear.
Complete full circle moment.
Exactly. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so good. I just picture it. I'm just picturing it right now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Oh man.
I'm gonna rewatch it again.
I mean, you're only at 3, right?
I'm only at 3.
Yeah, you gotta catch up.
Yeah, you gotta catch up.
Unbelievable. Let's get to 70 hours total watch,
God.
guys. Come on. 54. That's nothing.
Rookie numbers, eh?
Rookie numbers between 3 people. That's absurd. I could have done so much with 54 hours.
Oh boy.
I mean, we could, yeah. All right, guys. I think we're gonna end it there today. Part 2 of the episode. If you haven't yet, watch part 1, please. It's amazing. We talk a lot about the cast, Cillian Murphy, our favorite shots, so much in there. Go check it out. As always, make sure you check out our Spotify. It's a great way to watch it on the go. And leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we appreciate every single one of you. Anything else?
Just hit 50 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, we just hit 50 subscribers.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank
Greatly
you.
appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
To 50 more.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Yes.
Good shit, boys.
Holy shit.